Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a tag video. So in case you've missed the title, today I am going to be doing the mid-year Freakout tag. I've really enjoyed watching these, so I thought you might like watching them too. Now there are a lot of prompts, so I'm going to get straight into it with the first question, which is the best book you have read so far in 2021. Now this is quite an interesting one because when I was sort of putting together some notes for this video, my initial reaction was to go straight to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid and Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna, both of which I gave 4.5 stars, both of which I've got full review videos on my channel. You can find those there. But actually, when I looked back over my scoring, The Midnight Library, which I read right at the beginning of the year by Matt Haig, that was actually the highest scoring. I gave that 5 stars out of 5, whereas the other two I gave 4.5 stars. Isn't that interesting? Because the two books, Evelyn Hugo and Firefly Lane, are the two that stick in my mind the most. Now it might be because I read them more recently, or it could be that actually those are stories that will stay with me a lot longer than The Midnight Library, although I absolutely loved that book. So I am going to say that probably the two best books, I'm pushing it a little bit here, the two best books that I've read so far this year are The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid and Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna, both of which will feature as we go through this video a bit more. So the second prompt is best sequel this year, and this is going to be really quick because I don't tend to read sequels. I've never really thought about it, but obviously when this prompt came up I was a bit like, I haven't read any. I then started to think, well, is Meet Me in Hawaii a sequel to Meet Me in London? No, it's just part of a series. So yeah, I haven't read any sequels. Okay, so the third prompt is new release you haven't read yet but want to. Now, there are a couple. One is on my Kindle and that is the new Emily Henry. So she wrote Beach Read, which I have still yet to read but sits on my shelf. Her new release is, I think, is it You and Me on Vacation or You Me on Vacation? So I have that on my Kindle and I'm really keen to read that. Because it's got vacation in the title, it is making me want to read it on holiday, and I think that's why I also haven't read Beach Read. I'm hoping in the back of my mind that we might get away this year, and those will definitely be the kind of books that I'll be picking up. The other book that I pre-ordered is The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. Again, I have not read either of her two previous books, so The Flat Share and The Switch. This gets mixed reviews. I've heard quite a few people saying that it's not as good as The Flat Share, but I haven't read that, so you never know, I might think this is absolutely amazing. But yeah, but now I'm about to head into London again now. I'm not sure I want to take a really chunky hardback in my bag with me. It takes up so much space. This is where the Kindle comes into itself, isn't it? The next prompt is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Now, I tend to think that a lot of sort of the typical genres that I would read, which are, I mean, let's be honest, mainly sort of romance chick lit, tend to come out in the first half of the year because they come out ready for pool, beach, summer reads, typically. However, Lindsay Kelk's new book, On a Night Like This, is coming out in November, and I think it's very sort of festive, Christmassy, wintry read, which I am totally up for. You know how much of a seasonal reader I am. I also love Lindsay Kelk. She, for me, is one of my auto-buy authors, so I can't wait to get my hands on that. In fact, I'm quite keen to pre-order it, she says, with so many unread books on her bookshelf. I really do need to do a book buying ban, but I don't want to, so I probably won't. Next up is biggest disappointment. Now, this probably isn't going to come as a surprise to any of you that watch my channel regularly or watched my last video. Sorry if the shot has changed. I don't think I can ever get through a whole video with either my battery running out or my SD card being full. Anyway, hopefully that is it. So where was I? Yeah, biggest disappointment of the year so far has to be Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, this isn't the lowest scoring book that I've read this year, but it is the biggest disappointment. I think after having read Evelyn Hugo, loving it so much, also hearing so many people rave about this one, my expectations were high, and unfortunately this just didn't live up to the hype for me. Now, I have done a whole video on this book, which again you can find on my channel. I think the main problem I had with it was the format of the writing. So it's done in interview style, which for me doesn't allow myself to kind of get into the book as much as I normally would. I'm not as immersed, I feel a bit more sort of distant from it, but the ending was very clever and almost sort of turned it around for me. So not the lowest scoring, but definitely sort of the biggest disappointment so far this year. Next up we have Biggest Surprise, and I would say, now this is a book I read really early on in the year, but my biggest surprise was Shiver by Ali Reynolds. This is about a group of pro snowboarders who have a reunion at the top of this sort of glacier in the Alps. And it's basically a thriller. I definitely wouldn't have classed myself as a thriller reading girl at that point. I got a pre-release of it thanks to NetGalley, and I thought, oh, it's about snowboarding, that's quite interesting. I used to do a little bit of that when I was younger. I also like anything set on holiday, whether that's a beachy, summery location, or it might be sort of a wintry, snowy ski location. I'm there for it. So I thought I'd give it a read, and oh my goodness, it's completely changed the genres that I've been reading since then. So I now tend to alternate a sort of contemporary or romance chick lit book followed by a thriller. Now, that definitely wasn't the case last year. I think I'd read a couple here and there, but now I'm reading so many more, and they are the ultimate page turners. I know it's the most obvious thing to say, but they really are. I think that book was the biggest surprise for me because I didn't expect to enjoy that genre as much as I did, and then it completely changed my reading going forward. So yeah, that was definitely the biggest surprise for me so far this year. Okay, so next up is favourite new author. That could be a debut author, or it could be an author new to you. And I'm going to choose an author that is new to me. Now, I have only read one of her books so far, but I have another 3 on my shelf, of which one of them is here. Of course, it's at the bottom of the pile, and that is Kristen Hanna. So as I was saying earlier on, Firefly Lane is one of my favourite books of 2021 so far. I have another 3 on my shelf, one of which is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, based in Alaska, which I know I've said this many times before, but Alaska is just one of those places that is really on my radar at the moment. It might be a bit of a stretch to say that she is one of my new favourite authors when I've only read one of her books, but Firefly Lane was so good that I have high hopes for these others. If they are anything like that, I am in for a treat, and I can't wait to get going. Then I have 2 prompts that I don't really have an answer for. One of which is newest fictional crush. Now, I don't ever tend to think, oh, he's hot, or oh, he sounds like my kind of man. Does that mean I'm sort of a bit removed from it? I don't think that is the case, because sometimes I find myself feeling like these are characters that I know in real life, like you've heard me say before. So yeah, I don't have anything for that, I'm afraid. And the other one that I don't have anything for is newest favourite character. Nothing springs to mind. Then we have a book that made you cry. Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. Again, I feel like I have said this quite a few times. I'm not someone who's typically moved to that extent by a book. Might make me sound very cold, but I'm not. I can kind of detach myself enough. But Firefly Lane ruined me. And actually that's why it only got 4.5 stars, not 5, because I don't read to feel upset, but I think the fact that the author was able to make me feel that deeply about the characters just shows how amazing her writing is. So definitely Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna is the book that has made me cry so far this year. The next prompt is a book that made you happy, and I do have that one here. The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley is definitely a book that made me happy. This is so heartwarming, so feel good, all about community, all about kind of putting your real self out there. On the front cover there's a quote from Cosmopolitan and it just sums it up so well. A wonderfully warm, feel-good novel about the power of friendship and connection, and that is exactly what this is. I would say that if you're looking for something really sort of easy to read, something that's quite light-hearted, like I said, this might be a great book to pick up. This and The Lido by Libby Page are probably my two sort of recommendations for feel-good, light-hearted books. Then we have the most beautiful book you've bought or received so far this year. Now, I haven't read this, but I received it last month in my NB book subscription. This is Sarah Winman's Still Life. Look how beautiful this cover is. It's giving me, is it Spanish? Greek? I don't know, but it's giving me those sort of European Mediterranean vibes, which again, for someone who is really, really craving a holiday, this is really, really appealing to me. And finally, the last prompt is books you need to read by the end of the year. Now, there are so many. I've managed to whittle it down to 8 books that I need to read by the end of the year. So let me just get through these. Now, one of them I have already mentioned, and that is The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. Why I bothered to sort of pre-order this and then it just has sat on my shelf, I don't know, but I would really like to read this, especially because I've never read anything by Beth O'Leary before. So I think if I enjoy this, then I will definitely try The Flatshare and The Switch. Then I have The Foundling by Stacey Halls. I actually think she's got a new book out. The covers of her books are stunning. And actually that's what drew my attention to her new one when I saw it in the bookshop the other day. I feel like Stacey Halls is an author I need to read. I also have The Familiars because I made a mistake and accidentally ordered that when I was supposed to be ordering this. So now I have 2 books by this author that I have never read before. But I heard Lucy Wood talking about this on her channel and she basically sold it to me. It sounds great. So I would like to read that. Then I have another new author, but I really feel as though maybe if I enjoy Kristen Hanna, I might like Kate Morton, maybe? Quite a few people have said that they enjoy Kate Morton, that she is a brilliant author. I mean, this is quite a chubby book. It's about 600 pages. Yeah, I'm really keen to read something from Kate Morton, and this was one that I found in a charity shop, so I would like to give that a go. This is a book that I have heard Emma from Drinking by My Shelf talk about and absolutely rave about, and actually she voted this as the best book that she has read so far this year in her mid-year Freakout tag video, and that is 3 Hours by Rosamund Lupton. Sorry, I sound a bit bunged up all of a sudden. So this is actually about a school shooting, but in the UK, in Somerset. So a very unusual plot. I'm very keen to give this a go, continuing my love for thrillers. Then I have, now when I say this is a book, this is definitely in the list of a book that I need to read, but I'm still not massively drawn to. And I think I might be the last person on earth not to have read this book, but it is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. This has been sat on my shelf for so long. I've heard so many people rave about it. I would say it was one of the big books of last year, maybe even the year before. I mean, when did it come out? 2018? Right, okay. Maybe I've had this on my shelf longer than I thought. I know there is a film coming out of this soon, and I always try to read a book before seeing the film. To be honest, it's rare I see the film, but I do really want to read this before that comes out. I mean, I say I want to read it. Do I really want to read it though? This is the thing. I feel it's something I need to read because it's been sat there for quite a long time, and I just want to get it off my shelf, if I'm honest. I do think that it might be slightly too hyped for me, but I'm going to try and give it a go. Then we have Karen Swan's new release. Now, I know earlier I was talking about Lindsay Kelk, saying that obviously she is an auto-buy author for me. Karen Swan is also an auto-buy author for me. I love her stuff. It tends to be sort of romance, but with something a little bit more gritty and more depth to it. So her new book, The Secret Path, is coming out this week, I believe. So I have that as a pre-release on my Kindle, and so far I am loving it. After having to DNF a book and getting into a bit of a reading slump, this has really picked me out of it. So should I have included that on books I need to read? Then, as I was mentioning before, I would really like to read another Kristen Hanna, because is she a new favourite author for me? Can I base it just on Firefly Lane? Probably not, if I'm honest. But I'm really keen to read The Great Alone. As I said, it's based in Alaska. I have high expectations for this one. And finally, I have a book from a series that I have seen the final book in the shops recently, and I thought, oh my god, that looks right up my street. I need to give that a go. And realised that actually there are 6 books before it. You can probably guess what this is, but it is the 7 Sisters by Lucinda Riley. This is an absolute beast of a book. I think it's over 600 pages, and actually all of her books in this series seem to be quite chunky. But I'm thinking that if I enjoy this, there are another 6 books in the series for me to read, and that just, oh my god, that just fills me with joy. So I'm hoping I really like that, and I want to give that a go. Of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Of those 7 books, because we're not going to count Karen Swan, The Secret Path, because I'm already reading that. But of those 7 books, which one would you suggest I read next? Please let me know in the comments below, because I find it quite hard to choose, if I'm honest. I've been asking Michael to choose for me for the last couple of months. And that is it. That is my mid-year Freakout tag done. So I'll be interested to see in 6 months' time whether I have read all of those 7 books. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, as always, please give it the thumbs up. And if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, but you really enjoy reviews of contemporary fiction, romance, thrillers, historical fiction, any of that kind of stuff. It's quite an eclectic mix now. If you enjoy reviews of those, if you enjoy book hauls, there'll definitely be one of those coming soon, as I seem to have accumulated quite a few new books. If you enjoy all that and you haven't already, please press subscribe and come and join us. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again back here very soon, where I will have another video for you. Take care. Bye.